Yint Talks, episode 2.
Let's cue the theme music.
It is.
I feel like very connected as a Wet'suweten person. I grew up away from the nation and the people, and just coming back to be here at Gidimt'en has been very important to me, and learning about what it means to be Wet'suweten.
We have a long history of fighting oppression, and if we didn't resist, if we didn't take our governance underground, our potlatch underground, at a time when it was banned and illegal, if we didn't continue to meet in numbers greater than 3, if we didn't continue to speak our language despite the harsh penalties and violence our ancestors faced at those times, then we wouldn't exist anymore as Wet'suweten people.
I would say, like, for people who believe in the RCMP, like, or the protection of it, it's different for Indigenous people. Like, they are invaders to our lands, to our homes, and they have always been violent. These systems were built to take and oppress Indigenous people.
The media are spinning and focusing on us being violent based on fallen trees versus the very real and lethal violence that the police carried and brought in last year against our unarmed women and elders is just further proof, I guess, that that Canada is willing to go any lengths, really, to sell their story and to really justify the continued oppression and removal of our people.
And the RCMP was originally set up as the Northwest Police in order to contain and oppress Indigenous people, to move Indigenous people to reservations, to make sure that access was granted to white settlers and industry and not to communities. And so that's the legacy of that organization, and it's no different today. And I think about how quick people are to cast Indigenous land defense as violent when we have no intention of harming any people. Like, the whole point of being out here is to keep the land from being harmed.
It's just completely illogical that fallen trees, to slow the advancement of militarized police who have assault rifles, could even be considered a fair comparison.
That if they destroy that river and destroy the salmon, then that's violence that causes human suffering, and the suffering of our non-human relatives as well. When they bulldoze through an area with cultural artifacts, bulldoze through areas that are for berry picking, are for hunting, displaced all the moose, displaced all the grizzly bears, that's violence. Trees on the road are not violence. I mean, I think about over the past 10 years what Frida has done out at the Unist'ot'en village and the healing center there, about how much healthier that territory has become in the last 10 years. All the moose, like, were really low numbers until they started controlling access to that territory, and the moose populations returned. And with this, like, industrial invasion over the past year, it's been really hard on the animals and on the land already, trying to heal each other from a, like, toxic legacy of colonialism.
I think there's something deeply healing about community and connection, right? That's really, I think, the most powerful response that we can have to all of the efforts to remove us from our land and those deep connections we have is to reassert them and rebuild those connections. We don't have anywhere else to go to be Wet'suwet'en. We don't have other places where we have rich history about the land and stories that link us back through millennia. This is it for us. And it also happens to be the place where these headwaters feed so many more communities, Indigenous and non-Indigenous, downstream. And it's water, fresh water is too precious for us to risk for any kind of economic gain. So, you know, there's absolutely every reason to support what we're doing here and to support our chief's stance to protect these lands. They are critical. They are much more critical infrastructure for humanity's survival than any one project